The only thing I mentioned is product to market fit. I was like, doesn't matter about anything else, raising capital, any regulatory issues, does not matter. Who is your target market? And as soon as they say, oh, anyone, I'll go, you're not going to win. You got to be very, very focused on who your target market is, who are you selling to, why are they buying from you, what problem are you solving?
Welcome to that Product Market Fit Guy podcast, where we talk all things product market fit, specifically for innovators. I'm your host, Trevor Holmes, and I'm excited to have Lucas Meadowcroft with us here today. Why? Because you're about to hear the inside story of a Brisbane-based startup that raised $3.5 million, joined a top US accelerator, and built an AI platform for IT support, but still couldn't get traction. Our guest Lucas was the co-founder of Tribu, a bold attempt to automate IT help desks for managed service providers. But here's the twist. This isn't a story about a lack of investment or a broken product. It's about what happens when your pain isn't the market's pain. It's about the dangers of assuming product market fit and what AI founders in particular need to hear before they jump into developing an innovative solution. If you've ever wondered why some startups with money, tech, and vision still fail, stay with us. The answers in this episode could save you years. So make sure you subscribe so you can stay informed when it comes to product market fit. Lucas, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for having me. And man, you just brought back loads of memories.
I'm really sorry about that, but I have to say, I know this, isn't an easy conversation, but that's what makes it one of the most valuable ones we've had on this podcast. I'd like to step you through your entire journey with Tribu and start at the very beginning. So can we just go back to the creation of Tribu, Lucas? What was the problem that Tribu set out to solve, and for whom specifically? And what made the team think, yeah, let's build this?
We were solving our own problem. So we were in the MSP or managed service provider industry, essentially the IT support or outsourced IT support industry. So I say traditional businesses, let's call it, and back then it was 20 staff to 100 staff was our target market. They would require outsourced IT support services of companies like ours. And then we would provide those support services to our clients. We grew that business to 26 staff members. And in our journey of growing that business, we had a lot of pain points. One of the biggest pain points that we had, which is and eventually evolved to Tribu of what we were solving, was what we call the life cycle of a ticket, or the triage aspect of a ticket. And what that means is, I'll give you a bit of the process. So a customer would have a problem, password reset, computer running slow, printer not working. They would have some sort of IT support issue. Everyone's experienced this in their life at some form of in their own company or elsewhere. They would have an issue. They typically would make a phone call to the IT support company or log a ticket. And that logging of a ticket back then and even still today is via email. Send an email into your IT support help desk. Once that receives on this end, i.e. the IT support help desk end, we manually review that ticket. We understand the current issue, who the problem's for, what priority. Is it a local issue for that one computer? Is it a network issue? Is it a global issue? You have to go through that prioritization process. And then you need to mentally go, well, who is that particular problem best for in your team? So I go, okay, that particular problem, printer doesn't work. This person over here solves loads of printer problems. I'm going to assign to that person. They're not available until 3 p.m. this afternoon. I'm going to put it in their queue. Not available until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Put in their queue. Then you update the customer. It's always been a very manual process, and that was the biggest sticking point in our company from growth, and that's what we set out to solve.
So you're experiencing that pain yourself, creates this idea, let's do something about it, which is very logical. How did you go about testing to see what these other MSPs were experiencing, whether it was a pain for them?
It was the other way around, to be honest, Trevor. So we ended up solving it for ourselves. So we built machine learning technology that entire process I just explained. We 100% solved it from end to end,
Right.
no human intervention, right? So we solved it for our own business, and then the word started spreading. And through the MSP industry, it's a very well connected industry. And
Yeah.
so as soon as you talk to one MSP, they then talk to the next MSP, and next minute we've got hundreds of MSPs asking if we can do it for them. And so we thought, hold on, let's stop doing this whole MSP industry model. Why don't we become a SaaS platform? And why don't
Yes.
we become an AI tech startup rather than doing the traditional IT support services? So that's kind of just naturally evolved. And next minute, I ended up doing a survey with 1,000 MSPs, and everyone was on board. They loved the idea, they loved the concept. Keep in mind, I probably jumped a bit forward, but every single MSP had the exact same issue
Same
as what we
problem.
had. No different. No different. Fast forward to today, the same issue exists today. No difference.
Incredible. Incredible. So this is going to be really interesting to dig into because I can see why you had, the initial thoughts of, okay, this is a pain for everyone. Let's build it. So
And then
once
I was reaching out to
you
help them.
yeah, exactly. So you're getting almost, well, false positives. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I like that term.
Yeah, yeah. So um, let's just go on to skip. We'll come back to that because I really want to dig into the point where it actually became obvious that the traction wasn't occurring. But before we get to that point, let's talk about your climb. You've solved it for yourself, and then you went out and started raising money. And in that, as I understand, Lucas, you raised 100K USD, which led to a further flow of 1.5 million from investors. But you also put in about 1.5 of the founders' money. That's no
Mhm.
small feat. So let's just go to the investors. What was it about Tribu that investors got excited about most of all?
We were an AI startup, and back then, I'm talking about 2017 to 2020, so the 3 years leading up to COVID, and then we
Yes.
raised most of our money throughout the COVID period. AI was not a terminology most people were talking about. The investor network understood this artificial intelligence, machine learning terminology, but it was still very new ish in the investment space. And
Yeah, that
so,
makes
as
sense.
we were going on our journey to raise capital and being an AI first business, essentially the hype of our AI didn't exist. Like, fast forward ChatGPT 2023, that
Yes.
hype didn't exist, right? And so we had to do a lot of education. But what they loved about, I guess, our bold vision was solving a pain point that we experienced, and we had
Yeah.
1,000 plus MSPs on a survey that also said, yeah, they were willing to buy our product once we built it. So I'll put a caveat here. We built it for our own company, but for us to then take that technology and then distribute it and sell it to others, we had to rebuild the entire infrastructure, right? Because
Gotcha.
if you're not in the technology space, if you build it for yourself, that's great. You're solving a problem. You can't just copy and paste that and give it to someone else. It doesn't, like, from a technology point of view, it doesn't just work that way.
Understood.
And so we had to
Yes.
spend a lot of money to rebuild it in a way that then can be distributed, i.e., one hosting, one server, many, many customers.
Yes.
And so we spent 2 years doing that. And to do that, well, we invested our own money, but we also raised capital.
Yeah. So everything's looking good at this stage. You're rebuilding this and you're taking it out to the market. You've had really positive feedback from the market that they're in pain, they've got unmet needs, and they're looking for a solution. Can I ask, did you actually at any stage quantify that pain, or how much they were willing to take it on in order to solve that problem?
We definitely quantified it and qualified it immensely. We went to multiple different conferences around the world. We spoke to thousands of MSPs. We quantified and qualified it to the nth degree that you would think that we had product market fit. What we didn't do is understand, would they be willing to take money out of their own pocket to pay for a plot? platform to solve that problem. So
I
from a
see.
problem existed, tick. Opportunity to solve that problem, tick. Like you would think from an outside looking in, everything was like everything lined up perfectly, and this is why the investors got excited, right? Because we believed in it. We were so passionate about it. The investors believed in us. The investors were passionate about what we're doing. They could see this as a global problem to solve, not just a local problem. And this wasn't just for MSPs. You know, we had our eyes set on large corporate enterprise, government, IT departments, right? So huge market. So it
Yeah.
was if you were looking outside in, it's like tick, 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 tick.
Yeah. As you
You
would.
would think, how the hell would this thing fail? And so I'll stop there, but essentially that's you
That's
get the picture. There
yes.
should be no reason why this would fail.
Yeah, that's a logical position to take when you're getting that sort of feedback from the market. You're getting that validated by the investors being so excited about you. It all makes absolute sense at this point, Lucas. So so let's just step ahead a little bit and look at, I imagine, knowing you, Lucas, that you ran a bit of an early adopter program with some of those that were interested. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for the first, let's say 2.5 years while we were building the infrastructure, we still wanted to bring on customers. And so we were in you could call it an early adopter program. We called it a
Yep.
partnership program where the early adopters came on board for a set fee. And that set fee, we offered them lifetime subscription. So
Awesome.
so we had first 20 customers come on board, 20 customers being MSPs. Those MSPs were paying us anywhere between $80 and $300 per month, in that range, depending on the size of the MSP. Those first 20 customers had lifetime set fee because we knew eventually once we built it and had all the features and functionality, we would obviously put the price up. They were on board, I would say, mid 2020, like early on. We had just started raising capital, just started rebuilding our platform. Um, those early adopters, they were in love with the idea. They were in love with the vision. They were in love with what we had first built as like the first, let's call it version 1.1, very
Yeah.
basic for what we ended up getting to. And so they were on board for long journey. As we had built over that 12 months, 2 years, 3 year period, and we started going through the raising capital process and then scaling internationally. Because our customers weren't just Australia. To be honest, most of our customers were not in Australia; they were in the US or Europe. And so they were, yeah, even all the way to the end, they were loyal forever. And so what we realized is, um, we thought they're excited, we're excited, investors are excited. This is like a no brainer. We built this spreadsheet. I'm no kid, no, not kidding you on this. I would say we spent hundreds of hours, if not 1,000 hours, on this spreadsheet over a 12-month period on projections on becoming $1 billion business,
Yeah.
and this was in a 3 to 5 year period. Like there was no signs you would ever think that this could fail.
Okay. So this is all making pretty good sense. You're getting all these signals. You're in your early adopter program. I imagine, as you said, they were very loyal. So they're providing you with pretty positive feedback at this point. Yeah.
And directness on what they want to see and how we build the product and platform. And so we're
Yes.
building it to what they wanted because they're the MSPs, they're the early adopters, they get the first right to features and functionality. And so we were then taking in that feedback and then building to suit.
Okay. So just explain to myself and the viewers at what point you got through the early adopter program. Did you start to release it? And what was that market entry strategy? How would you describe that?
Yeah, we went to conferences. So we spent close to $500,000 going to 4 to 6 conferences: Australia, US, Europe. I say 4 to 6. Some of the conferences were small, like 50 MSPs, but the bigger ones we went to, we spent sometimes up to 80 grand for a booth in some of these conferences
Really?
in the US. They're not cheap to go to, but there's 5,000 MSPs there. Like you've got this captured market. At one of the conferences, I still really recall Amy and I were there. Amy's my partner, and also CEO of the business. And we were at one of these conferences in the US. And I just recall. Typical MSP IT story if anyone's listening.
Yeah,
Think of a hot blonde female standing at a booth. Next minute, I'm there, Amy's there, and then next minute, she's got like 15 MSPs surrounding her, and I'm here on my own, no one next to me,
of
because
course.
they just we're drawn to her. She's really charismatic in the crowd and in a tech environment, and just we had hundreds. Like I'm not joking, we had hundreds of people sign up, book demos, become on board or for the onboarding process. Like we had hundreds come through. We're like, oh yeah, we're definitely on a winner here. Absolute no brainer. Like this is absolute amazing. That's why we end up committing, $500,000 to these conferences around the
And
world
the
because that's
strategy.
where
Yeah.
I work.
Yeah.
MSPs, like most communities, when you're in a community, they love to buy, but based on relationship and based on alcohol and based on meetings at the pub. And so that's how it works.
Okay. So we're at this point. You're getting people, large numbers sign up for demos. Where did you see the sticking point of people? Were you able to convert a lot of those that actually you got from the conference?
The conversions where it fell apart. We converted based on heavy discounts and monetary. It's very money driven. So I don't know if you want me to skip ahead and tell you about what we end up, I guess, and doing analysis on why we never got the conversion, but we would get loads, like hundreds of people sign up, register, book demos, go through the process. But when we went, okay, now how do we go from a 6 week process of you going through everything, falling in love with it, to then being a loyal customer for the next 2 to 3 years? That
Hmm.
was our biggest issue, was that conversion rate at that point. Leading up to that point, our conversion rate was extremely high. But then converting them to a monthly agreement or a monthly plan, we stripped out all contracts. We did everything you think of to make it very low barrier. But that conversion to be a long term customer, that's where our sticking point was.
And so just take us through, I guess, your assessment of what was the sticking point. Are we talking price alone?
Uh, yeah, I would say yes. I would say we would have today, if it was still live, would have 10,000 MSPs on our platform if it was free. Absolutely. Um, every single one. There was not one MSP we met. Like we met a lot of skeptics, as you can imagine. A lot of skeptics saying humans are way better than AI.
Yes.
Fast forward now,
So they're the
love
laggards.
they're the laggards. So of course you're gonna get
Yeah.
skeptics, the laggards. But if you look at every single MSP that signed up and registered and was part of our program for like 3 months or so, using the platform, testing it, measuring it, they all loved it. So if we were to remove money from the conversation, then yeah, we would have 10,000 plus MSPs on our platform today. The number one reason we end up shutting down, and the reason we did an evaluation on why we could never get the business model to work. MSPs think in revenue and
Yeah.
monthly recurring revenue. They love, and this is no disrespect, it's just how it is. They love, and I'm generalizing here, but essentially they love to buy and sell a product to a customer and
Hmm.
make commission along the way. So make clip of the ticket. So buy a product, sell that product, and then they make a monthly commission throughout that life cycle. Tribu was not that model.
Mm.
Tribu was selling directly to the MSP to make the MSP more efficient. So that was one. So just keep that in mind, right? To make
Yeah.
our job
Efficiency.
was efficiency for the MSP, to make the MSP efficiency better and give better customer service to the client. So this is more of a internal workings process conversation, not a buy and sell product conversation. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yes. Understood. Yeah. So so from there, if we look at the jobs to be done, you were approaching it from a very functional job that um, everyone admitted it's a problem. You had a solution, so it removes that frustration and so on. However, what we're getting into is that efficiency, the job of efficiency, was maybe not something that was of high importance to these particular organisations. Is that a roundabout way to identify the core issue?
You would think that. you'll think the efficiency is not high importance. The thing was, the business owner who was that conversion process for us was definitely the high conversion. Where the other sticking point was control. So the person who's going to be rolling out this software and working alongside the software was the service delivery manager. That service
Ah,
delivery is the key person in the company that essentially holds the company together on a daily basis, right? So when I talk about that prioritization process I talked about before, our
yeah,
service delivery manager was the one doing that prioritization and figuring out the ticket and passing on to the right tech at the right time. That
yes,
service delivery manager ended up being key. So we end up bringing on a service delivery manager partner in our business to have those conversations with service delivery managers inside
yes.
these firms. They got along like a house on fire. That was perfectly fine. But then converting or convincing a service delivery manager to let go and to release control of what they do on a daily basis was really, really, really difficult.
Okay, so this is really interesting, Lucas. This is so interesting to dig deep onto this. So was that difficulty because they may have feared their own job, or was it just this is the traditional way that we do it, and I don't want to change my workflows, or was it something else?
All the above and timing. So it's hard for us to have this conversation now because everyone knows about AI.
Yes.
Like it's hard for you to imagine having a conversation about AI before people even know what AI is, right? We were having these artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation conversations before everyone even knew what the terminology even stood for. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard for me to articulate this in this podcast now, knowing on the fact that the entire world knows about AI, right?
Yeah.
We were having these conversations with the IT guys and the MSPs and service delivery managers about everything that you know about today that no one knew about, which means how do you comprehend in your mind? So of course, fear comes into it. I've lost my job. It can't be better than a human. We heard everything you could imagine of why our software could not do the job better than what they could do it.
Yeah. This is actually goes into some of Professor Clayton Christensen's work, and he talks about the innovation curve, and basically that it takes time. Technology can be ahead of what the market's expectations are, which therefore puts you into a position where it's actually about having to educate them not only about what the benefits are and how it solves particular jobs, but also to build that trust. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
So
exactly where
yeah. So I understand from a timing perspective that when you're ahead of that curve of the market expectations, the quandary is, well, do you wait for the market to come
yeah.
up to those sort of expectations? Or do you look to pivot in some other direction? So before you made that decision and went through your analysis, was there consideration to any ways that you could pivot?
Uh, yeah, I'll put it this way. In about I would say about August. Yeah, but it was about August 2022 that after we'd gone through this whole process, done all the conferences, already had the capital in the bank, already going out to market, blah blah. So about August 2022, we had a meeting internally, and we're just hitting our head against a brick wall, going, "What the hell do we do?" By that stage, we'd start targeting enterprises, and we'll start talking to larger MSPs in the US. So these larger ones have like 5,000 staff. They're a lot larger in the US. It became an enterprise sales cycle. And we knew an enterprise sales cycle would be 18 months. We're confident we could secure it with an 18-month program because enterprises buy differently to MSPs, right?
Hmm.
But by August, September 2022, we're running out of capital. And we'd already gone, invested all this capital, done all these conferences, like you could just imagine, right? And then what happens in November 2022, ChatGPT is released
I
to the market. And when ChatGPT was released to the market, I initially thought, "Holy shit!" Sorry for swearing. but holy shit, this is a game changer. This is going to save our business. Why? The biggest cost to our organization was education. Biggest cost to our business was education. Being a leader, being the pioneer, being the educator, we were leading and educating our market, and we were spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this.
Yeah.
ChatGPT releases, so let's call it in 2023. We're like, great, our business is going to turn around. It's going to be an absolute game changer. Let's keep going. We'd run out of investor cash. So then we started tipping in our own personal money on top of what we were already doing previously. And we're like, okay, let's give this a really good hot crack for the next 12 months. Let's keep the company going. We're burning about 30-ish K a month at that stage. Yeah, 40K a month. And we're like, no, we'll keep going. Let's keep putting cash into the business. We really believed in it. We're passionate about it. ChatGPT has just changed the game for us. It's going to educate the entire market. We're on a winner. We're back on track. Fast forward 12 months, so end of 2023, coming into 2024, crickets, still no difference. These MSPs, these Luddites, these service delivery managers just did not want to change. They were not interested. It just wasn't a thing. And if I fast forward now, what are we in? August, coming into September in 2025, I'm still speaking to MSPs today. We've shut down Tribu. That's all done and dusted. I'm still
Yep.
talking to MSPs today about how we can help their clients to innovate and use artificial intelligence. They're still not interested in the conversation today. So
That
it doesn't matter how long we would have held on for. The industry does not want to change, but I will say the industry won't have a choice to change in 2 or 3, 4 years from now.
yes.
They will be made to change.
Well, are they
We
in
were
fact sorry,
going.
Lucas, are they in fact in danger of being disrupted themselves because of their lack of embracing change?
I don't know if you'll love or hate what I'm about to say. When we had started tipping all that capital in, and let's say mid 2023, we went back out to our investor network and said, "No, we're on this. We can make this happen. We believe in it. Can you come on board and tip it in?" We were only asking for $300,000 more. We weren't asking for much. We said we've cut down the team. We've gone to a lean team. Everyone's gone back and got full-time jobs. We've like super cut down everything, right? Um, we're all working consulting. We're all making paying our bills outside of the business. So there was really just hosting costs and a few other bits and pieces. We really slimmed down. So we went back to the investors and said, no, this is a game changer. Can we raise another 300 grand? That 300 grand will get us through the next 2 years of just keeping the platform and business alive for us then to figure out this product to market fit. And we knew by then we didn't have product market fit, right? Like,
Yeah.
before we even met Trevor, I was like, product market fit is the number one most crucial thing that any startup founder needs to think about. Do not do anything about, just figure out product market fit.
Not an optional sort of thing, is it, Lucas?
Yeah. And so this is my point around, I don't know if you'll love me or hate me for what I'm about to say. In mid 2023, coming to the end of 2023, after we went back and spoke to all our investors, and I was raising this capital, they said to me, Lucas, because AI had been around, say, 8 months to a year by then. They
Yep.
said, Lucas, I believe that the market you're targeting is wrong. MSPs will not exist in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
MSPs will not exist in 5 years from now because AI is going to replace them.
Yes. Yes.
And we went, I'm telling you, these are investors they're not silly people. They went from not knowing what AI and machine learning is within a 2 to 3 year period to going, AI is going to dominate and change the entire industry.
Yes.
Very short period of time.
Yeah. Which must have been devastating, to come to that realization. But to your credit, you picked up the pieces and you've now started a new organization. You've been going for a little while now. So what did you learn from your Tribu experience to now how you're applying that to Crofty? If you can just tell us a little bit about Crofty.
Yeah, it's a great transition. It's a great story because you always take your lessons learned, right? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
did it. Did it hurt us losing all of our personal money and not being able to buy property and live a good life? Of course, it hurt us. Did it hurt us from losing all our investor cash? Of course, it definitely hurt us. It was the last thing I wanted to do. We also shut the company down in the US, Tribu, gracefully, the right way, not how everyone told us to do it. Just walk away. We did it properly. We spent cash. We did it the right way because I didn't want
Good
to
on
burn any
you.
bridges. The last thing I
Yeah.
wanted to do is burn bridges. I know that I have this opportunity to go back to my network that I built over the last 5 year period, because I know morally, ethically, I'm not doing anything wrong in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
just before you go on, Lucas, it says a lot about your integrity, and that is something that investors absolutely look for.
absolutely. And so, if I fast forward now, we've been back in Australia, I would say 2 years. We kicked off our AI automation business here in Australia. We're helping, I say traditional businesses. We're really heavily focused in the construction manufacturing sector, professional services as well, helping traditional businesses streamline their operations using AI automation, removing mundane tasks, and our entire ethos and focus is to give job satisfaction back to the staff member. Staff members are sick of doing data entry, data admin. They don't want to do what they've always done. If you go into any organization, talk to any staff member, and you say, "What do you love to do?" They'll look at you blankly. They don't know. You ask them to go think about it and come back. They'll say, "I love doing this, 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 and this." Okay, so what are those four things you're doing every day? Well, I'm not doing any of them. I'm doing this over here. So can we get you to focus on what you love doing and stop doing everything else that you don't like doing? So that's our entire focus now. The big lessons that I learned through the Tribute thing was finding that product and market fit. I've spent 2 years really refining what this consulting AI implementation product market fit looks like before scaling. Yeah, obviously it's taken a while, but we figured that out, and now we are
Yep.
scaling. Um, but one of those things that uh, I guess because you look at your journey, right? Any startup founder would do this, and you go, "Well, we failed. We shut down. We lost all our money." You always look at it as a failure. Fast forward to now, and the last 3 months, I've been actively speaking with the investor network again that I had built networks and connections with. We've now raised or have access to over $2 billion worth of capital that we can now go out and buy baby boomer companies that we can take, acquire, invest into these baby boom businesses, inject artificial intelligence automation into these companies, scale them over a 3, 5 year, and 7 year period, and then exit them. And we've already started lining up conversations with large PE firms that will do roll up strategies of these companies and then sell these roll ups to these PE firms.
That's
So
classic.
I think if I look back, I'm glad I never burnt bridges. I'm glad I wasn't a narcissist and pissed anyone off in any particular form. I'd met with a couple of thousand investors over that period of time, and because of the journey that we've been on, it's really given us two things. It's given us leverage. I do a lot of AI automation speaking gigs, and what really builds the connection is that we've been in the AI space for 8 years now.
Yes.
This is not a ChatGPT conversation. This is something
Yes.
that we've been we've been in from the ground from GP. I guess you call it OpenAI version 1 through to where we are today, and so that builds credibility. Two,
Yes.
as you mentioned before, integrity with the investor network. So I think lessons learned is, yeah, everything happens for a reason in life. Do we wish that Tribu was successful? Absolutely. Do I wish I never let anyone down? Of course. Everything happens for a reason, and we're here at where we are today. I believe to secure generational wealth over the next 5 years are these baby boomers are not interested in AI. They're not
Ah,
interested in even learning or wanting to be a part of this whole new generation. Their kids are not wanting to take over the companies from them. We have access to this capital we can now deploy immediately. We are now just actively helping these baby boomer companies get through this next 5 to 10 years and setting them up because a lot of these companies are actually not worth anything. So we're actually giving generational wealth back to them.
that is such a brilliant story, Lucas, and I think you're right in that you would never have learnt how to do and deploy a strategy like that from a textbook or sitting in a university theatre. So, for your sake, I just commend you on you're taking the lessons that you've learned and looking at it from a perspective of how can you leverage that and push on. And it sounds like you're heading in a wonderful direction.
There's always opportunity with failure.
Correct. And that's a great lesson for the entrepreneurs and startups that are out there. Obviously, what we're trying to espouse here is the ability to identify product market fit, to take things in a very validated step fashion. Um, but there is a reality that not every innovation succeeds. In fact, it's the success rates are less than 15%. So it is great to see you bounce straight back up and then to take those lessons you've learned and apply them into your next opportunity, which sounds to me is a really exciting future.
Yeah, sorry, Trevor. Can I ask you a question? Because if
Yes.
you're the product market fit guy, you know how to solve it. With your mindset, if I go back 5 years to the younger version of Lucas, we had ticked all those boxes. Like it's like in my world, it's like of course it's validated. You definitely have product market fit. What else would you have done to know what we end up finding out?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it's difficult because I can understand from your perspective that you were actually taking all the right steps to try and get that validation. Probably one of the key points in for everyone to understand is that this point of the technology being ahead of market expectation is something to take very seriously. So if you are developing, particularly now, there's so many AI products and things evolving, is
41,000 on the marketplace.
exactly, and it's just growing exponentially. But it is about actually really focusing down into the jobs that your target market are trying to get done, to understand not just the functional job, but the emotional jobs and the social jobs. So in this particular situation, one of the observations, and I'm not saying this is fact, this is just an observation, is that the actual decision makers being those, what did you call them, service
Service delivery
managers,
managers.
service delivery managers, where you've got, and AI is going to play an important role with this, where you've got something that the people who are either the decision makers or heavily influence the
Mm,
guy up or the guy or girl up there, whether this is a solution to take on, where they feel threatened, um,
mhm.
where they are very stuck in the old ways of doing things, they avoid change. So it's really getting into the psychographics of who that influencer or actual decision maker is. And but I can't put any fault towards what you've done. I think you did a lot of things right, but it is one of those things that we look for when we know there's education involved, then that is always a bit of a flag to say, well, how much education is involved? What is the market's expectations and how rapidly are they growing? And that aligns in with the timing of actual deploying. The only other thing that is potentially may have been something where pivoted into a very low end strategy or deployment of triage or just using that technology somewhere else to stay alive for long enough to be able to get that product market fit in the right areas. But even
Yeah,
so, as we've already talked about, Lucas, the way our AI is now coming on, those MSPs are facing disruption. So if there's any of you out there listening, you should get in touch with Lucas and look at how you can pivot into something else, given what Lucas has informed us about. So just wrapping up there, Lucas, from a product market fit perspective, you've had that experience in the past. What advice would you give budding innovators about the signals to look for when they're starting to roll out in the early stages?
it's a great question because I get this weekly. I have hundreds and hundreds of potential I guess tech startups, they're innovators, they've raised capital, they're about to raise capital, they're wanting to go international, explore new markets. And the question they always get introduced me to, hey, Lucas has been there, done that. Maybe you guys should catch up for a coffee and have a conversation around what lessons to learn from. And the only thing I mentioned is product to market fit. I was like, doesn't matter about anything else, raising capital, any regulatory issues, does not matter. Who is your target market? And as soon as they say, oh, anyone, I'll go, you're not going to win. You got to be very, very focused on who your target market is, who are you selling to, why are they buying from you, what problem are you solving, especially now, as I mentioned, there's 41,000 AI apps. They're all doing a very focused approach around what they're solving. If you don't have that problem that you're solving, and you haven't nailed that 30-second elevator pitch to the
Mm-hmm.
exact market that you're selling to, you've lost already. That's the only thing, in my opinion, of everything I've learned this last 8 years, is figuring out that 30-second elevator pitch to be very narrowed, focused on the ideal target market. Not everyone, not somebody, the managing director of a construction company that's more than 50 staff members and their biggest pain is XYZ. Like, be very, very focused on the problem that you're solving. And if you haven't figured that out, then go do your homework, because the investors, they're very clued onto this now. Investors are not investing in AI tech startups anymore. Just FYI, that doesn't exist. They're investing in problems that are being solved. They just assume you've wrapped your solution with AI. If you don't
Yes.
have AI somewhere in your product, then I'm sorry, but you've missed the boat completely. The assumption is AI is already part of your product. So you do not sell AI. Do not even think about selling AI. It's just existing inside your product. What problem
Yes.
are you solving? That's the only thing you need to focus on.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I love that. And I guess I would add to it, Lucas, that the opportunity to look at those elements of what is the problem, but to deeply understand just how much pain that problem is to your target market. And within a target market, the last point is, in any market, only about 16% of that market are early movers.
Mhm.
That's your early innovators. That's about 2.5% of the market, who will just grab any new technology because they just love it. They're the people who stand out, the Apple store at midnight to get the next iPhone the first morning. But the other 13.5% are still very early adopters of technologies, but they're just a little bit more risk averse. So doing early adopter programs and then going into the early majority market and targeting, as you said, specifically that target niche market that you've identified, but knowing that probably only 16% of those will be the very first early adopter, or the first purchasers of your new innovative product. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I'll just, Trevor, like, if I fast forward today in our target market around the construction manufacturing clients, even
Yes.
though um, even though AI has been around now for, what are we, 2.5, 3 years. I say AI as AI has been around for
Yes.
50 years, but
Yeah.
let's say the AI in the consumer market, ChatGPT is a household name now. That's been around for, say, 2.5, 3 years. So if we go, that's 3 years. Only now am I seeing, and this is globally, this is not just Australia, this is globally. I'm only now seeing these organizations going, we need to do something. It's already
Yeah.
been around 3 years. And so
Yes.
you look at time, and timing will be my next key point, right? Timing is everything. Because technology has leapfrogged 20 years. Us humans have gone 1 year. So there's a big
Yes.
gap between 20 years and 1 year. And so us humans are not ready for this change, and we're very slow at adopting. And so even the market that we're targeting, it's only just becoming the right timing now, and it's been around for 3 years and a household name. And so, to your point, timing is absolutely everything. And if you are out there trying to find your target market and find that right timing, that right product market fit, do your due diligence before jumping all in.
Absolutely. And I think even in the last point there, Lucas, is to really focus on what their expectations are. So if your technology is ahead of expectations, then that is something to, first of all, be aware of. They're not quite ready for it now. But what is the problem that you can solve that is at the low end there to get those early adopters and early innovators on board? Lucas, your openness here is a real gift to our viewers. Not many founders have the courage to share the how and why, especially when it doesn't end in an IPO. But what you've shared today might be the difference between someone else trying to push through um, and not get that clarity and wasting years and chasing a mirage. So if
Mm.
anyone listening is building something hard and wants to learn from those who've done it, this conversation has been a real masterclass. So, Lucas, thank you heaps for sharing your story here on That Product Market Fit Guy.
Yeah, you're right, man. I really appreciate this conversation. As I said in the beginning, thanks for bringing back some harsh memories, because you're right. It's not a story that you want to happily share when you fail, right? But I and just on that point there, to for your listeners to end with, I think what was really key is our passion took over, and we didn't look at logic. And I think you got to be passionate about whatever you do. You're an innovator, you're an entrepreneur. You want to be passionate, but I think you need to bring back logic and go, well, does our client even want to buy this product? Not passionate, not can my passion sell, because you need to hire salespeople. Salespeople are not as passionate as you, but can your product just be bought without that passion, just throwing it down their throat, and removing your ego from that conversation? So, yeah, no, I think this has been great, man. Can I ask you one more question, and then you can wrap up? How many jelly beans do you have in that jar behind you?
That is the small amount of the niche sub market that you're looking for. And out of that little, where am I? That little green
Yellow
jelly
jar.
bar, only
Yeah.
about 16% of them will be your first takers and your first clients. So that's how
Oh, really?
challenging it is.
Just in the setup. I thought this was like a competition. So hold on. So the big one is the market. The little one is your target market. Is that okay? I didn't realize that was an analogy you're going for.
Yeah, no. So the big market is what we call the headline market. So, say construction, and all the different colors represent all the different markets and their wants, their needs, what they value, what they care about. And over here with the green jelly bean, that's a very defined niche sub-market, which, as you know, we use AI tools to actually explore those markets and find that real little niche. But that's not the end of the journey. You've actually then got to be able to find those 16% who just love adopting technology and have all the values and everything to support you to become your first clients. So that's a great way to finish up, Lucas.
Yeah,
Well done.
love
And
that.
I really value you coming on board and sharing a difficult and challenging story, but it is your leadership in this particular innovation space that is inspiring to other innovators and startups that are coming through. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
No, thanks, Trevor. Really appreciate it, and I can't wait to get the feedback from your listeners, and hopefully they've not, or they're not going to go through the pain that I went through.
No, I hope not. And that's part of our aim and purpose of helping people find their product market fit. So to all the viewers out there, join me in thanking Lucas. Leave your comments and stories and learnings from Lucas and what he's given you today in this gift. And don't forget to subscribe. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode of That Product Market Fit Guy. Ciao for now.
Appreciate it.